let's make some dresses for a cloth doll. Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin. I'm a living historian who educates other living historians by teaching old-fashioned sewing skills and copying original garments. So we made a cloth doll, I think it was like 2 years ago at this point. It's been a while, and she kind of sat while I moved a couple of times. And we finally painted her face, finally got her some underwear. She made sort of a petticoat. And now we actually get to put her in a dress, which I think will work. She really needs a bonnet to deal with this situation here, but that'll be next time. We're going to work on dresses. We're going to make her 3 different dresses so that we can change her up. I have here, I used this for a baby dress not too long ago, and I have a lot of it, plenty more for kids wear. I think it looks fantastic as a little 1860s toddler boys outfit, so I want to save enough for that, but I think we can spare some and make her a little gown. And then I have made so many things with this thing. I feel like there's just a million things I have made with this fabric. And yeah, we're going to make her a dress because I still got a couple yards left. And then to kind of mix it up a little bit, I'm thinking maybe a wool dress. I have prettier colors of wool, but I'm saving those for kids projects because I don't think kids look as nice in these really drab, stupid colors we have in wool nowadays. So I have enough of this, so I think I can make her a dress. Maybe we'll trim it, maybe we won't. I have plenty of silk ribbon back here. We can always figure out something. Ooh, there's velvet ribbon. Velvet would look nice. Anyway, we're going to make a couple of styles of dresses. I think we're going to make at least the wool one like kids' clothes were made. Very simple style bodice. Probably a full gathered infant style bodice. Super simple to make and very easy to pattern. I'll show you how that works. That'll be fun. And then we're going to make just like a kind of sack dress almost, but put it to a waistband so it opens and closes essentially, but it's very easy to make. It's like a basic rectangle with sleeves and you gather in the waist and put a waistband on. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and make her some clothes because she needs it. She's been naked far too long. So let's go ahead and get to cutting. That might work actually. It's half a dress. Yeah, okay, perfect. All right. So to measure for this, and I want kind of an open neckline, and I definitely want it longer than the petticoat by a little bit. So I'm just going to lay the doll here. And of course, as soon as I start filming, the AC goes on. Alright, so if I wanted a good 2-inch, just do an inch hem. But I want it to be about an inch longer. And I'm going to measure down here. Go. So I have that. Gonna need a neckband, which doesn't need to be very much. I'll cut it down from here, but at least this will give me something. And then sleeves. Let's do bishop sleeves on this one. So I'm gonna do 2 of these. Let's see how long her arm is. And we're gonna add 1 inch for boof, 1 inch for seam allowance. So we're going to be 2 inches here. And we'll do 1 of these as her sleeve because this folded in will be a great bishop sleeve. So we'll only need 1. And then let's do another little 2-inch strip. Or I can do this. This will work. Just measure off some of it. Because we will need cuffs for those sleeves as well. Alright, that's the pink one. That was really easy. But it is going to be our simple gown. Alright, let's work on this one. See, skirt. This is ripped. Awesome. So let's just measure from here. Plus 1 inch. About 8 1/4, so let's do 8. Let's cut it 10 inches. And I think for the skirt width, she only needs half. Let's do a little bit more than that then. You should rip it all the way across. And then let's measure across her shoulder. Well, let's measure across her bust line right here. We're going to make like an infant style bodice. It's 8 inches. I want it full gathered, so that's going to be 16 plus. Let's make it 18. That's just for seam allowance. I measured 18 inches over. And then whatever's left over, this is going to be our skirt. So now I have this piece. That's how wide I want the bodice, but the bodice length, let's measure it. About 3 inches, so 4 inches, well, waistband. So let's just cut it 3 inches. Alright, now to make a bodice, this is the same way we make stays or children's garments, anything like that. Fold it in half and then in half again. Cut out an armhole. Make sure that armhole fits. Ideally it would be bigger. Like that's going to fit her just fine. It's not a problem. But it will be gathered slightly, so you want to make sure it's bigger. And if you want, you don't have to, but if you want, you can kind of hollow out the front just a tad. You can do that to the back if you'd like, but I don't think I'm going to. And then this left over could be our sleeves and our neckband and our waistband. So let's go ahead and cut 2 inches for the waistband and everything else. Waistband and neckband right there. So now I have this for the sleeves, which would also work for a bishop sleeve if I wanted to do a bishop sleeve. I've already done a bishop sleeve. I can't do pagoda because this is cotton. You don't see pagoda sleeves in cotton. I could do a straight sleeve. So 4 inches. Yeah, about that wide. Okay. I can always make a bigger hem on the bottom. So we're going to fold this. Round that out. You want a spot that's bigger to go up on the arm. Yeah, that's going to give me a nice, good seam there. Yeah, that'll work as a straight sleeve. Doll clothes are simple. Part of this whole series is to show you how simple doll clothes can actually be. So now we have 2. Let's cut the last one. Alright, we're going to do almost the same thing. We are going to take advantage of the fact that wool is wider and give her a nice fuller skirt. And probably cut off the selvage. So 10 inches. Perfect. Selvage came off. At least on that one side. So honestly, that's almost a quarter of a yard that we're using to make a dress, which isn't that much. You wouldn't make it work with a fat quarter, but if you just had a straight quarter of fabric, if you have any of those, doll clothes are a great way to get around that. Same thing, we're going to cut 18 inches off for that bodice. And then this whole long thing is going to be the skirt, but I am going to cut off that lovely selvage. So now I have a nice long skirt. The other one was about 28 inches. This one is going to be much wider. 40 inches. A 40-inch long skirt, that'll be, or a 40-inch wide skirt, that'll be nice and full. Alright, bodice, same thing, 3 inches across. Give ourselves 2 inches here for waistband and neckband. Same thing, we're going to cut ourselves some armholes, fold it in half. There's our center front. Fold it once more to find where the arms go. Cut it out. If you want to, you can again hollow that out. I'm not going to do it on that one. And now I have this for sleeves. Let's cut some pagoda sleeves since we have a nice wool here. Or even better, I have this braid left over from my 1840s dress. That's perfectly appropriate for the early 50s. Wish it was something that would show up a little bit better, like a different color, but that's okay. So pagodas, to make a nice full sleeve on her, little bell sleeve. 9 inches would be nice. Let's cut it 10. Actually, we're going to be about 9 because this is only 18 inches long, isn't it? So we're going to fold that in quite a bit. So let's see. I'm terrible at cutting pagoda sleeves. How does that work? Cut a little bit out for the underarm. Super pointed. We're going to have to round this off. That actually looks halfway decent. Okay, cool. So 3 different styles of sleeves, 2 different styles of bodices, one with trim. So that should give us 3 different looking dresses for our little cloth doll. She's going to be very well dressed. But let's go ahead and get to work on the sewing portion of this. The first step is prepping for my sewing machine marathon. I am a huge fan of prepping everything, doing as much machine work as I can, then going to sit down, doing all the next prep or hand sewing, going back to do all the machine work, etc. So I don't do things in step-by-step manner, but like 5 steps at a time because I find it more efficient that way. Each person has their own method of working and sewing, and this just happens to be my way. So I pinned the skirts together, making sure to leave an armhole for the pink one. I also pinned together the sleeves so that those could get stitched, and I gathered the bottom of the yellow and the wool bodices and attached a waistband. I couldn't add the neckband yet because I have to put the sleeves in first, and the sleeves aren't sewn. So sewing in the neckband will be in Sewing Machine Marathon number 2. I am using a modern sewing machine today because I didn't want to deal with a chain stitch today, and all my period machines for this time period are chain stitch. Plus, chain stitch was not available until the late 1850s, at least on a home scale model. And I want this doll to work for early to mid 50s as well, so a lock stitch would be the most appropriate. So even though the machine isn't accurate, the stitch is. I'm going to make my stitch length about 1.5 or 2 millimeter to better mimic period machines, because one way to make your stitching more accurate is to use smaller stitches. Today we tend to use much larger stitches than they did back then. My period machines do about 12 stitches per inch as the largest stitch, which is a little bit more than 2 millimeters, and they go all the way down to 32 stitches per inch, which is minuscule, let me tell you. Historic machine sewing is just getting accustomed to the very small stitches and also taking out those many tiny little stitches when you mess up. However, using a historic stitch length is an easy way to do to make your garments a little bit more accurate inside and out. And then it's more handwork. I gathered the top of the pink sleeves and hand stitched in the wristband because there was no way I was shoving that into a machine. The pink sleeves can then be pinned into the dress, and I went ahead and stitched that all in by hand because I prefer to put sleeves in by hand. I then put 2 gathering threads around the waist, while also cutting down the center back for a closure. I thought that hand finishing would look better in most places, so the waistband and the back opening get hand stitched in. And the last step for this little section, on the pink dress at least, is to put in a gathering thread at the neck and pin in the neck band, and also to cut a small facing for the hem. On the yellow and green dresses, I hemmed the sleeves first and went ahead and trimmed the green sleeves while I was there. Then the sleeves get set into the bodice, which I hand stitched, as I also did with the pink dress, and the skirts got gauged. Then it's back to the machine. All 3 dresses get a facing put on, and the neckband gets put on to each bodice. And that was it for the sewing machine step. Then it was off to the ironing board to iron up the facings, turn down a 1/2 inch at the top of the wool and yellow skirt so I can gather those in just a bit. And then it's back to hand sewing. The pink dress first, I finished off the neckband, adding 1/8 inch ties at either end of that neckband. I also added ties to the waistline as well. The final step for the pink dress is stitching the top of the facing, and then I moved on to the yellow dress. I did the facing first and then stitched in the neckband while also putting in ties, but I left off the ties at the waist on this one at this point. I then did a hand gathering thread at the top of the skirt and stitched in the skirt of the bodice before then adding the waist ties. And that's it for the yellow dress. Then I got to repeat the whole thing for the wool dress, so the facing, neckband, ties, gathering, and attaching the bodice to the skirt. Then I added 2 rows of trim to the skirt and also to the waistband to finish it off. And the dresses are done. Alright, we got like a background out so you can kind of see. So here's our little doll. Petticoat, chemise, drawers, all that. Start with the pink dress. Try each of them on. I do know these cuffs were a little bit tight, but I made them tight so that they wouldn't just fall off her arm, you know? So it takes a little bit of finagling, but then you get them on her. Bob's is probably a little bit long, but it's a little bit more like an 1840s dress with the long waist. That's not necessarily a problem. I mean, I could probably raise it a little, and that is kind of her waist. I should have just put it up a little bit. I think that would help, but it looks pretty good. And if we do early 1850s, this will be perfect because it'll still have that long waist. I think this one is the shortest of the dresses, and you can see I think it's a good height for her, especially if she's a little bit of a younger doll. But easy off, easy on, because it's just, you know, ties. It's not that complicated. Might need to push down the chemise neckline, which isn't that big of a deal. So there's her nice dress. That really does look quite nice, actually. I like how full the skirt ended up being. So this is the fullest of the skirts. I don't have it super tied back up there. It does, like it's loose, so it'll close. I just didn't tie it quite tight enough. I do love the sleeves on this one. That same full bodice. Trim is just like perfectly sets it apart. Like, I think that's really cute. I think this one had the narrowest skirt, which ends up being a little bit narrower, which I don't think is a problem. I'm going to have to tuck the chemise under, which isn't a problem. There are dresses where I have to tuck my chemise when I wear it. A lot of evening and ball gowns, I have to tuck my chemise under. But even that, like, isn't bad. Like, it's a good full 1850s width. It's great for a cotton dress on her. I think the proportions are just fine. I don't think that's a problem at all. I do like this. I like this print. I love it a lot. I bought it, like 5 yards of it, thinking I'd make kids' clothes in it. Well, I don't look good in warm colors like this. Red doesn't look good in warm colors like this. We just don't have the right complexion or hair color for it. So I don't know why I thought that our children would look good in something like this. So I made like a baby dress out of it. It'll be fine for, like, especially if we have bald children. That would be great because it would mean they would go with more of the clothes and more of the colors. But I think this is like the perfect application for, you know, a doll dress. Because it looks really good on her. Alright, so she has clothes. That is quite the accomplishment. I'm glad we got 3 of them done because sometimes doll dresses just don't take a lot of time, and I always feel like it's weird to have, you know, very little done within a video. So it's nice that this was able to be a little bit more substantial in terms of, like, we got a lot done. And yeah, I think for a little cloth doll who just has a bag, like she's not doing a trunk or anything, it's nothing special, it's nothing really important. It's literally just going to be for, like, working class situations, or for me to teach kids how clothes go on, anything like that. Yeah, I think this is perfectly substantial enough for her wardrobe. So we're not going to see her for a few months. Next time we do it, we're going to get accessories. She needs headwear. Just because I didn't paint back here, or I didn't do the watercolor pencil back there. So she needs some bonnets. so she doesn't look quite as weird. I think that'll help a lot. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's about it for today. If you've enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, click that little bell notification so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. And as always, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back here in the next video.